In this video, I'm going to give you a brief overview of what are the UI and UX tools of the trade, which I used and that I've seen my clients request me to use most often in the past 8 years. So this is going to be a more practical video, and I'm just going to give you an overview, and then in the future videos, we're going to dive deeper in some of these tools. Now let's start with the design tools, and I want to start with a premise, and that is that you shouldn't really overstress about which design tool which you're going to use, because each and every one of these design tools which I'm going to mention are going to enable you to achieve the same results in give or take the same amount of time. So it's really a matter of one, personal preference, and two, if you're going to work in an organization which is going to use a specific design tool, you might want to use that one. But I noticed that clients usually are flexible when it comes to design tools, and especially for freelancing, it's just about figuring out which one you like and then going after it. But in this course, we're going to specifically focus on Sketch. And the reason being is that it's one of the industry leaders when it comes to design tools. And I'm also giving the entire Sketch course for free included in this course. So we're going to focus on Sketch. It's a very widely used design tool. And as you can see, this is the actual logo. Probably if you already have experience with UI design, you already heard of Sketch and you already saw this logo. And Sketch is a brilliant design tool. It's very easy to use, has tons of plugins that enable you to scale its functionalities. And overall, it's a really, really great design tool. Now, another design tool which is really interesting especially for collaboration is Figma. And the reason being is that Figma lets designers build dynamic prototypes and mockups and test them for usability and sync up all of the progress. Now, Figma allows multiple people to work on or view a project at the same time, much like Google Docs. So it's really interesting for real-time collaboration. And another great tool, which is one of the pillars in the design industry, is Adobe XD. Now, Adobe is a very well-recognized brand, and overall, it's just a really solid choice. So again, another thing that I want to mention when it comes to design tools is that they're not too different from one another. So if you learn one really well, the time is going to take for you to transition to another one is going to be way less than when you're going to first learn a design tool in the first place from scratch. So keep that in mind, because the transition usually, if you already know how to use Sketch, for example, you can learn Adobe XD in pretty much a day. And the same I feel is true for Figma. There's going to be some things which you're going to learn on the way, but for the most part, they're pretty straightforward. Now let's talk about wireframing tools. Now, a brief parenthesis that I want to open when it comes to wireframing tools is that I like to do my wireframes in the actual design software, so either Sketch, Figma, or Adobe XD. However, there's going to be some occasions where you might want to consider a different approach, or you simply want to maybe keep the wireframes detached from the design software. That would be actually the case for using a software like InVision Freehand, which is a really good software. It really reminds me of Figma when it comes to its collaborative approach, since you can operate in real time. And as you can see, this is almost a preview of what this would look like. So basically, you're going to have a white canvas and you can collaborate with many people, and you're literally going to see their cursor move. So it's really cool to do brainstorming sessions, and you can just send the person a link, the client a link, or the team member, and they're going to be right inside of the software. So very easy, and we're going to have an entire video dedicated to InVision Freehand. So we're going to explore it in more details. Now, another option which you can consider and that I used to do my wireframes in is wireframe.cc. And you can literally go on and type in your browser wireframe.cc, and you're going to be greeted immediately with the ability to create the wireframes. It's a web app, and yeah, overall it's another good solution. Again, nowadays I tend to use more freehand, and but especially the design software, or just pen and paper if I need to sketch something quickly. But this is also another great option to consider. Now let's talk about prototyping and presentations, because chances are you don't want to share your design files with the client, but you'd rather share shareable links where they can only see the design and they can not have to download a design software, or see all of the things which we see in the backend which are not relevant for them. So you want to have a place where they can go through the designs in a clean and efficient way, and they can also see maybe some live prototypes of the design. And the industry leader at the moment is by far InVision. It's definitely one of the most common softwares, and you're going to hear a lot of InVision requests from clients. It's really good software overall, great for collaboration, great also for feedback, as we're going to see in one of the future videos, as we're going to dive deep into InVision. And yeah, overall a great software which we're going to explore in more detail in just a moment. Now, another option is Zeppelin, and some clients will require you to use Zeppelin. Again, similar in some sorts. It has its own pros and cons compared to InVision, but overall really cool and good software, easy to use. And I would say pretty much the same for Marvel app. Marvel is another software which is going to enable you to create presentations and basic prototyping, so definitely another one to have on your radar. Now let's talk about the day-to-day essentials, because we've been focusing on the technical softwares, but now let's go and have just a brief mention to two softwares or cloud services which you're probably going to use quite often in your career, and that is Google Drive, and especially the docs, Excel sheets, and the presentations in Google Drive, and also Dropbox, since it's going to enable you to download and share assets with your clients, or vice versa, having your clients share these assets to you, which is actually probably going to be more often than you think. So we're going to explore these in future videos as well. So we just want to keep this video high level, but keep these in mind and under your radar. Now let's also briefly mention that some softwares for advanced prototyping and animations, and the two which at the moment are really popular in the design industry are principleformac.com and flinto.com. Now, I want to make a brief parenthesis when it comes to advanced prototyping and animations. I see a lot of designers, especially when they're first starting out, they're really focusing on the animations, and they think that if you want to become a top tier designer, you need to master like complex animations like the one you see on Dribble. I want to kind of give a reality check when it comes to animations, and that is that more often than not, you're not going to create complex animations for the vast majority of clients. And the reason being is that, one, it takes a lot of time. Secondarily, it takes a lot of resources for the more complex animations to be implemented, because there's also a development effort which is going to be extra cost and time for the clients. And in my personal experience, those are not the type of projects which you're going to be requested to do as much. The vast majority is going to be 2D, just the 2D work, and really creating the basic prototypes at max. But complex animations aren't really something which you really require, even if you want to get to the top tier client. But it's definitely a nice have, and I would almost consider it as a advanced niche that you can decide to enter in a future stage. But I wouldn't really focus too much on the animations, especially if you're just starting out. Now, I want to end this video talking about the basic communication tools and softwares which you're probably going to use on a day-to-day quite often. And for the most part, those are going to be Skype, Zoom, Google Hangouts, and Microsoft Teams, especially when it comes to phone calls and video calls. And then Slack for the actual messaging. And it's almost like an advanced version of Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp, but specifically for work. It's an amazing software which makes communication very easy. And we're going to explore Slack in future videos as well. So this is a complete overview. I want to stress the fact that the tools in and of itself are not the most important thing, and it seems that like nowadays there's a new tool each and every day coming out, but I want to focus on the fact that the tools in and of itself, it's not the most crucial element. It's how you use them, and especially the high level strategy and the execution, because there's a lot of tools that can accomplish pretty much the same results. So you want to focus more on the strategy and the actual work rather than the tools.